If you think NASCAR has been quiet lately, you clearly haven't been paying attention, because the last 24 hours just dropped a bomb. Stephen A. Smith went at it with Joey Logano, and neither one backed down. A NASCAR team just got hit with a lawsuit that has some seriously dirty details behind it. And Denny Hamlin went on his podcast and said some things about Corey Day that the whole paddock is now talking about. Hit that like button right now and don't move, because we're starting with Stephen A. Smith, and this one gets loud fast. All right, so here's how this whole thing started. Stephen A. Smith, the guy from First Take, went on air and said NASCAR drivers aren't real athletes. That's it. That was the spark. And if you know anything about the NASCAR community, you already know that went over about as well as a blown tire at Daytona. Drivers from across the paddock pushed back hard, but the one who hit back the loudest was Joey Logano. The three-time NASCAR champion didn't hold back. He told reporters that guys like Stephen A. only say stuff like that to stay relevant. His exact words? That Smith got exactly what he wanted. The whole industry talking about him. Now you'd think Stephen A. would let it slide. He did not. Back on his Mad Dog Sports radio show on Sirius XM, Smith came out swinging. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Do I look like somebody who needs to stay relevant?" The man has been hosting First Take, one of the most watched sports debate shows in the country, for over 14 years, every single weekday. 2 hours on TV, then 2 more hours on national radio. That's not a guy desperate for attention. That's a guy with a platform the size of a stadium. Then he hit Logano with this line, and this one's going to stick. "Joey Logano, I don't know you from a can of paint." Cold. He basically said, "Why can't I have an opinion about NASCAR without people assuming I have an agenda? What's the big deal?" And look, Logano fired back one more time at Talladega during the pre-race. He stood by his take saying NASCAR drivers absolutely are athletes. He pointed to the mental demands, the physical strain of sitting in a car for 3 to 4 hours while temperatures inside the cockpit go through the roof. It's not the same as playing basketball, sure, but calling it easy is just lazy thinking. And here's the thing, Logano has the resume to back it up. In 622 career starts, he has 37 wins and 302 top 10 finishes. In 2023, he was officially named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers of all time. So when he talks about what it takes, he's not just talking, he's lived it. But here's what's actually interesting about this whole situation. Stephen A. isn't wrong that he doesn't need the exposure, and Logano isn't wrong that the sport deserves more respect. Both guys have valid points. They're just talking past each other. Stephen A. gave an opinion, NASCAR took it personally, and now the whole thing is bigger than anyone expected. Classic sports media moment. But hey, if you thought that back and forth was messy, what just came out about Young's Motorsports is on a completely different level. Because this one didn't stay on social media. It went straight to a courtroom in North Carolina. Alright, so this one is a little more serious. And honestly, it's the kind of story that shows you just how complicated the business side of NASCAR can get behind the scenes. A company called JLB and Associates just filed a lawsuit against Young's Motorsports in Iredell County Superior Court in North Carolina. And the allegations are pretty wild when you lay them all out. Here's the background. A few years back, JLB had a financing agreement tied to some racing equipment, specifically a Miller Brothers pull-down rig, that was originally connected to Brandon-Built Motorsports. When Brandon-Built wound things down in late 2022, that equipment got moved to Young's Motorsports facility in Mooresville, North Carolina. A company called FRS Racing was in the middle of all this, renting the equipment while operating out of Young's facility. Here's where it gets messy. According to the complaint, FRS Racing eventually defaulted on its financial obligations, basically stopped paying. And JLB is now claiming that Young's Motorsports knew exactly what was going on financially with FRS, and instead of helping sort it out, actually did things that discouraged FRS from making those payments. Why would they do that? According to JLB, so that Young's could hold on to the rig and use it as collateral for unpaid rent that FRS owed them. In other words, JLB is saying Young's played the situation to end up with equipment they have no legal right to keep. Young's, on their side, is pushing back. Their position is that the rig is essentially collateral for money FRS owes them in unpaid rent. So they believe they're entitled to hold on to it. JLB isn't buying that. Their argument is simple. FRS never owned the equipment in the first place, so FRS had no right to use it as collateral for anything. The lawsuit includes charges of breach of lease, conversion of property, unjust enrichment, and claims seeking full return of both the rig and the trailer. JLB says damages exceed $25,000, with the final number to be settled in court. Young's Motorsports hasn't publicly responded yet. The case is ongoing and nothing has been proven. But the fact that this is now in a courtroom tells you everything. This dispute has been building for a while, and somebody finally decided enough was enough. And speaking of pressure building up, there's a young driver right now who's feeling the heat from a very specific direction. Because when Denny Hamlin starts questioning you on his own podcast, the whole paddock listens. And what he said about Corey Day? It wasn't pretty. Corey Day came into NASCAR with massive hype behind him. He's young, he was a dirt track standout, and he had the backing of Kyle Larson, which in this sport means people take you seriously from day one. But the early part of his first full NASCAR season has been bumpy, to put it gently. And now Denny Hamlin has gone on record with some real talk that nobody in Day's camp is going to enjoy hearing. On his podcast, Hamlin basically asked out loud the question a lot of people have been thinking: how long does this experiment go? He said he's seen flashes from Day, but more mistakes than memorable runs. And in a series where equipment matters this much, that ratio is a problem. The incidents back that up. At COTA, Day made contact with Connor Zilisch while they were both up near the front, contact that ended Zilisch's race entirely. Zilisch was not subtle about his feelings afterward, calling Day an absolute hack. Then at Atlanta, Day spun Ryan Sieg into the wall on just lap 5. 2 high-profile incidents, back-to-back. That's not a pattern you want to be building early in your career. Hamlin did give some context, though. He acknowledged that Day is really young and comes with zero asphalt experience. Everything he built his reputation on was dirt. That transition is genuinely hard. The braking points are different, the tire wear is different, the race management over a long run is different. It's not a simple adjustment. But then, Hamlin said something that really lands. By the end of this season, there have to be fewer mistakes and more time running up front, because that car, with any experienced quality driver in it, should be competing at the front. The bar is set. Now, Corey Day just has to clear it. Stephen A. has his opinions, Young's Motorsports has a lawsuit to deal with, and Corey Day has a whole season left to prove Hamlin wrong. My take? Day's the most interesting one to watch, because the talent is clearly there. The question is whether the mistakes stop before the patience runs out. What do you think? Is he the real deal? Drop it in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss a single update.